Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, foreigners paid to have children. Yes, I am actually going there. I am. But don't worry, it's not me that's saying this. This is from a video that I saw, an interview between Tucker Carlson and Conor McGregor. Now, I will be sharing that video shortly. I'm going to be talking about a few other things that have been happening in the United Kingdom. I'm going to talk about women and girls now at risk, consecutive governments putting women and children at risk. I'm going to share a video from GB News. But I want to start with STARMER absolutely plummeting. I am going to be talking about the situation in Iran because I do think there's military action going to happen there. So before we get into this, ladies and gentlemen, if you're on and you've not done so already, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification down below. All those things that your fantastic fingers help this channel grow. So, excuse me. Let's just start about our illustrious leader, Keir Starmer. And we all love Keir Starmer, don't we? We think he's fantastic. I've seen him on the punch bag. He's so ferocious on that punch bag. Listen, you know that, I'll share a video about him in a minute. You know the Muslim guy who says, if somebody gets in your face, you've got to, you've got to knock their teeth out. I mean, this guy's 60 and Keir Starmer's, they're about the same age, right? I listen, if they were in an MMA match, can you imagine if they were in the UFC, who would win? I think I know my money's on, and it's not Keir Starmer. Right, so a damning majority of 51% of voters now say that they must replace Keir Starmer as leader. Only 1 in 5, which is a measly 20%, think that Keir Starmer should stay on. And remember, the sampling of this, I think this is high for Keir Starmer, or low, whichever way you're looking at it. So Keir Starmer, his personal net satisfaction rating, a record-shattering low of 49. I think he's the most unpopular prime minister that Britain has ever had. I don't think that's not just unpopular. That is historically toxic territory for any prime minister. And here's the left hook, guys. Here's the left hook. Even among those who voted for Labour in 2024, in the 2024 election, the very people who put him in number 10, he's now underwater with negative -8 for the first time. The core base is turning against Keir Starmer. The mandate he claims is evaporating before our eyes. So what we mean by a mandate is people come up here and they say, I have a mandate to do this, this, and this. Turns out, Keir Starmer doesn't really have that much of a mandate. So Andy Burnham, and I know I've spoken about this a couple of times, but Andy Burnham, the Greater Manchester Mayor, emerges as a clear forerunner among those wanting change. 24% back him overall, and a full third of dissatisfied 24 voters name him as their preferred successor. Remarkably, he even pulls support from nearly 3 in 10 Reform UK voters who favour a switch. So now we're seeing this situation, this wild situation in the United Kingdom. And listen, I talked about battlegrounds yesterday because battlegrounds are here. Battlegrounds are upon us. Just consider that. This was going to be an easy seat for Labour, but Labour would rather give that to the Reform or the Greens. So what they're hinting here, these votes, and this is from, and I'm getting this information from an article that was released in GB News. I'll share it with you guys now, actually, just so you guys know what we're talking about. We are talking about Keir Starmer's popularity plunges to unprecedented levels. This is what I'm focusing on at the moment, guys. So what they're saying is that Andy Burnham could claw back some ground lost to Nigel Farage. Yet 23% of those calling for a change pick none of the above. So 23% of people who are calling for a change in the Labour Party don't see anyone. They don't see anyone there, which is far worse, guys. Now, let's connect the dots to something bigger. I've spoken about the 3 things, right? You know the 3 things I've spoken about, the 3 markers that signal the collapse of a nation. That's why I should probably start this live stream as the collapse of a nation. Collapse of a nation. 3 markers, polarization of the nation polarization of the host nation. Where we're there, right? Deeply. Tribes form left versus right, Remain versus Leave, up versus down, red versus blue, black versus white. It doesn't matter. But you get that tribalization, and social media turns everything into a loyalty test. It turns things into tribal badges. So now, if you're a Reform voter, you have to religiously follow everything Nigel Farage says. Likewise, if you're a Labour voter, you have to religiously follow everything that, you know, Keir Starmer says, because it's your badge, it's your tribe. You have to show loyalty to your tribe. And that's dark days, guys. That's dark days. Loss of legitimacy of the government. I mean, I've just given you guys the statistics. I don't think at minus 49 points, anyone can say that there is any faith in the government at the moment. An ethnic replacement. And I'll come on to that in a minute. Andy Burnham could offer a lifeline for the Labour Party, but for Britain, I don't think he will, guys. I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to offer anything. So I just wanted to talk to you guys real quickly about how bad things are. Like how bad things are according to the mainstream media. Right, let me jump onto the videos. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Right, the first video I'm going to share with you, in fact, let me put the chat on. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Right, I'll put the chat on. The first video I want to share with you, and I'll share this a couple of times, is this one. Now, this is a video that with Tucker Carlson and Conor McGregor. Now they're talking about replace. Well, I'll let Tucker Carlson and Conor McGregor talk about this.
If they're paying foreigners to have kids, well, you can't afford to have kids. If they're shaking.
Does anyone feel like that in the United Kingdom, guys? Do you feel in the United Kingdom like here in the United Kingdom we are paying foreign people to have children? Well, we're footing the bill. Does anybody else feel like that? Because that's how I feel. It might not be the case. It might be the case that, you know, if you go out to work every day and you're paying your taxes and you're only just making enough money to look after maybe your 2 kids, I know that having another kid may not feel right at this point. But you know what? Some people who don't live like that, some people who've not got a job, some people who would welcome, you know, an extra bit of welfare for another child, I know they would potentially look at having another child. And I don't think they're the right people that should be having children.
You down with the armed police, but allowing foreigners a pass. Yeah. If they're paying to fix foreigners' cars, but not yours, they hate you and they're trying to kill you, right?
It's an erasure. It's an attempted erasure of our people. That is it. I could have went all that way in the White House. I had to climb. You go incrementally up, right? You go in. Hey, you talk about a genocide. This is the genocide of our people.
Obviously.
So Conor McGregor and Tucker Carlson are saying that this is a genocide. I'm going to play that video a few more times, guys, while we're on the live stream. But it does feel like that. It doesn't it? If you live in the United Kingdom right now, it does feel like there's, you know, and I might be wrong. I could be wrong. Also, there's another article out from GB News. You can't debate the senseless slaughter of our young women. Now, I'm gonna share this video with you guys as well. Now, this is another video from not that one. This is another. Well, this is not another. This is a GB News video, but I think she's got some good points.
A young woman. Well, I mean, it's not, you don't have to be a woman or a girl to understand this, because men, you have wives, you have daughters, you have mothers, you have nieces, you know, the women in your lives you love and care about. Rhiannon was one of those women. So let me know what you're thinking about this story. I'm going to ask my panel now. This isn't going to be a debate. I know Michelle's show is all about debate and feisty argument, etc., which is brilliant. It doesn't work for this subject, nor should it work for this subject, because you can't debate the senseless slaughter of a young woman whose 5-year-old child is now being cared for by her sister. Rhiannon took 3 days to die, by the way. And this little boy now wants to be a brain surgeon because he said that I don't want any other ladies to be hurt like my mummy was. I want to make them better. A 5-year-old who's lost his mum. Sebastian, I'm going to get very emotional about this because of course I'm upset. I feel terrible for Rhiannon's family, but I'm going to say, I'm bloody angry. I'm really angry about what not just this government, but various governments are putting women and girls in this country through.
So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got more coming out every day, right? Every day we have this same direction of travel. Every day the same direction of travel hits. It's either a gang, a group, you know, it's either, you know, these guys from this country, these guys from this country. And it kind of doesn't really matter anymore because a lot of people are, you know, well, most people are now numb to this. Now, the problem is when you become numb to things, they kind of lose their significance and it's just the normal. It's just the normal now, right? It's just normal. And that's like the terrifying thing. If anybody's looking in, if you're not from the United Kingdom and you're looking in, like, you know, imagine somebody in a time machine, right? Somebody goes... Right, imagine someone in the 1900s, right? Can you imagine, like you've seen those videos, right, of London in the 1900s? You can imagine somebody going, somebody in a time machine, right? Coming forwards in time, right? Let's see what the world looks like. Let's see what London looks like in 2024, 2026. You know, and somebody from 1926 jumps forwards 100 years and he's like, oh God, there's going to be flying cars. There's going to be bases on it's going to be fantastic. And he gets back and he's like, oh, the future's a dark place. Right? That's what's going to happen. So, and a lot of the problem is, you know, we're too scared to point out the problem. The camera's not focusing. Focus, camera, damn you, camera. Right. It normally does this when it gets dusty, the camera. So remember the guy, remember the convicted terrorist who's standing for election in Birmingham. Well, it turns out yesterday he was questioned and challenged on some of the things he said. And let's listen to his answers.
Face.
So this is the gentleman who was, this is a gentleman, guys, if you're joining for the first time, this is the gentleman who, well, it says there, he's a convicted terrorist, and he's now running for UK election, and he defends, well, let's listen to what he says.
How is that acceptable of somebody who wants to be in public office? Saying that it's okay to scrap and fight in the street and knock somebody's teeth out? Because the law permits it. The law gives you what's called a preemptive strike. If somebody comes into your face, if somebody comes into your space and you feel that why not say then, calm down, take a step away and remove yourself from the situation? Why do you say it's fair enough to make the first strike and knock somebody's teeth out? Because I feel that my life is in danger. If you were elected and serving.
So I when you're looking at this, you can see the problems that are emerging, right? You can see the problems that, like, you know, look, first of all, I want to be quite clear, all right? I'm not advocating for any violence. If it were up to me, the world, we would just stop all wars, we'd stop all fighting, all right? We'd go, whatever that country is you believe is your home, go back there, everybody, right? Literally everybody. You know, if you've lived in the United Kingdom 25 years, but you don't speak any English yet, you need to go back to the country you came from. We should all build space stuff, right? We should all build spaceships. I think that would, this aggression, this competitivity that humans have, it would put it all to rest, and we could all make some money out of it, right? That's where I think we're going. The problem is, people like this gentleman now, once he's standing he's standing for election. He's probably, and I would say he's more than likely going to win. Where he's standing, it's an 80% Muslim majority. Now, once people like this get into power, they start to slow. Well, I guess it's not slow anymore. It's going to happen a lot quicker. They start to manipulate and change things. But before we know it, I would argue already that white people in the United Kingdom are a minority. Yes, on paper, there are millions of people who are, not deemed foreign. But the reality is, what are their age brackets? If you're looking at the demographic, if you're looking at the cohort of under 40s, I would say not. I would say absolutely not. And if, like I've said, it is coming, but if it does turn into a civil conflict in the United Kingdom, your nan and your granddad, who are numbers, like, what are they going to do? They're going to be running around with Do you know what? I've got a funny anecdote I'm going to tell you in a minute, actually. I saw something the other day in the supermarket, and I'm not advocating it, but it just made me laugh.
As a councillor on Birmingham City Council, do you see a situation where you might end up in a street fight, where you might end up knocking somebody's teeth out?
Potentially, if they attack me, I'll defend myself.
But if they just came up arguing with you,
then I'd argue back.
And you'd potentially punch their teeth
if I
out.
thought my life was threatened.
So here's the thing, right? Where's that not Overton window? Where's that where's that marker where you feel threatened? You know, where is that marker where you feel threatened? Oh, I feel threatened. What from? Oh, well, you know, I don't know. He was eating a bag of chips and staggering. Oh, right, okay. So, you know, and he was 12 feet away, so I had to run over to him and give him a Superman punch. Like, where do you draw that line to? I feel threatened, and when is it not a defense in court? Because we've already seen now, haven't we? We're already seeing that crimes, rather than being dealt with by a jury, they're being dealt with by a judge. So what if there's a Muslim judge? Because we know in the Quran, there are certain verses in the Quran where it makes it haram, which is, bad for Muslims, I think, or against Islam, to persecute another Muslim. So that's where we are right now, guys. And I don't see the off-ramp. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys are joining for the first time, we are talking about foreigners paid to have children, women and girls are at risk, and STARMER is plummeting he's absolutely plummeting in the polls. Also, there's an article out this morning from I think, where is it? Channel 4, I think. I can't remember where. I don't know where it is. Former CIA analyst, Trump likely to attack Iran. A US carrier group is racing towards Iran. Trump's statements are swinging between threats and vague offers of a nuclear deal. Inside Tehran, unrest is spreading and the regime's most powerful security institutions are showing strain. But how do Western intelligence services really know what comes next? And how dangerous is this moment? So I'm going to be talking about that again in a little while. But let me jump onto the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Blow Bubbles is saying, there's a space. If someone gets in my space, they get clocked. Don't wait and hang about and get clocked. I don't know what that means. Are we talking about space exploration? I don't know what we're talking about. Are people still drunk, guys? Are people still drunk? Destiny Workman is saying, my mum and dad got 6 kids, aged from 10 to 19. Both of them work, never claimed for a child benefits or any tax working benefits. Well, so let me share the video again. So the video that we're talking about now is I don't know how old. Listen, guys, I'll be quite honest. I think this is an old video. I've only just seen it, but there's a video out. Tucker Carlson and Conor McGregor, and they are discussing now that. Well, I'll let Tucker Carlson say what he's discussing.
If they're paying foreigners to have kids, well, you can't afford to have kids. If they're shaking you down with the armed police, but allowing foreigners a pass, if they're paying to fix foreigners' cars but not yours, they hate you and they're trying to kill you, right?
It's an erasure. It's an attempted erasure of our people. That is it. I could have went all that way in the White House. I had to climb. We had to.
Right. First of all, I don't know what Connor's talking about now. I have no idea what he's talking about right now. I mean, I like Connor, but in small doses. I think I know a guy like him. He was a Scouser. In the army, like literally, he's the double. Like, you know when you see people and you think, Jesus, that's your twin, right? He was like he was so much like Conor McGregor. But in small doses, I think I'd really get on with him. But I don't think I could stand in a trench with him for 2 weeks.
You go incrementally up, right? You go in. Hey, you talk about a genocide. This is the genocide of our people.
So I feel, and this is what I feel. Let me know what you guys think. I feel that, most people in the United Kingdom, most working people, all right, they go to work. You have a mum and a dad normally. They go to work. Kids go to school. Mum and dad come back, look after the kids. And they don't like, most people are really, most people are struggling with taxes. There's no way around this, guys. Most people are struggling in the United Kingdom with paying taxes, and every time, every time the government puts a squeeze on something, it's kind of like the government give you like money with one hand, but then take away more with the other. For example, inflation is the best example, right? They give you a pay rise, but the cost of everything goes up. So whereas, and the metric I always use, whereas I used to be able to get 6 bags of, they don't do them anymore. I used to be able to get 6 bags of, what was the flavor? Spring onion crisps. They don't even sell spring onion crisps anymore. I used to be able to get 6 bags of spring onion crisps for 89 pence. All right. I did before all the craziness happened. It's now £1.35 for 5 bags, and they don't even sell spring onion anymore. So the purchasing power of my pound has gone down, even though they're saying that look, I work for myself anyway, so I don't get a salary. But your purchasing power has gone down. So most people are just trying to figure stuff out, and it does to me anyway seem that if you don't want to work, if you don't want to pay tax, if you just want to, have loads of children, then the government are going to pay you more. I saw a statistic that if you have 3 children, if you're unemployed and you have 3 children, somebody needs to fact check me on this, because I may be getting this slightly wrong and I can't be bothered to Google it. But I shared an article, and I think it was something like, if you are unemployed in the United Kingdom and you have 3 children, somebody that's working, an average family that's working, need to bring in is it something like 80,000 a year to equal what they're getting? And I was like, how is that even how are we at a situation, at a stage in Britain's development where we let this happen? And the people that are paying for that are the people who are struggling to put to put food on the table. They're going out every day. They're paying their taxes so they can fund this. So they can fund. We're literally paying to fund our own demise. That's what we're paying. And I think the voting. I think honestly, guys, like my solution to all of this is vote. I don't think you should have the right to vote unless you've paid tax that whole term. So when Keir Starmer got elected in, what was it? Was it 24? Was it? I don't know. Was it 24 or 23? I don't know. But when Keir Starmer got elected, right? If you paid tax from the day that he was elected all the way through to the day he's to the next election, I don't think you should have the right to vote. Honestly, I think that would sort the country out straight away. Can you imagine any other club, right? Any other club where you don't pay into the club, but you still get to decide which way it's going? It's ridiculous. Right, okay, forget a club. Imagine you're at the bar, right? You're at the bar. I can talk about bars and boozing now because I'm on YouTube. Imagine you're at the bar and imagine you're at the bar, right? And you're there with, right, imagine you're at a golf club, right? Or whatever, right? You're at a golf club and you're in the bar. And there's one guy there, and he pays for other people's drinks. He's well off, and he knows that other people in that bar are a bit skint. So he's like, right, you know what? I'll sponsor your beers. When you come to this bar, I will sponsor your beers. So you go to that bar, and can you imagine the scenario where the barman, he says, oh, what beers shall we put on? And the people who are not paying for the beers get to choose? How is that even fair? Clearly, the guy who's buying all the beers, he gets to choose, right? Because it's his money. It makes no sense, ladies and gentlemen. If it was up to me, if you don't pay tax, you don't vote. That's how I would roll. And then you would have, remember, I've said this loads of times. If you don't pay for something, you don't value it. So if you're paying for your country, guess what? You're going to value it. If you're getting given shit for free, guess what? You're not going to value that. That's the reality. There's no caveat to that. The best example I gave, and I gave this a couple of weeks ago, I said, remember those little Pandora bracelets? I couldn't remember the store name, but you know, the little charms are like 60 quid or whatever. If you take, I don't know if you've got girls, but if you take your daughters there, they're like 60 quid for these little charms, and they're ridiculous. They're absolutely ridiculous. You know, they're so ridiculous, but they're like 60 quid, or you can get like 2 for 70. And you're like, what? How's one worth 60 if 2 are worth 70? But whatever. Now, if your girls go there and they've saved up their own money, right? They've saved up their own pocket money. They've done chores around the house, and they want to buy one of those little Pandora bracelets, little charms. They're gonna, you know, oh wow, I've spent. Oh, look how beautiful it is. Oh, I love it. You know, if the girls are at the dinner table and you come down and you've got a bag of 500 and you throw them on the table and say, hey, I'll sift through them, see what you want. They're not going to value them, right? They're not going to value them because they're just having them thrown at them. And that's where we are here. Oh, hang on. Michelle has sent a £2 super. Michelle Marshall has sent me a £2 super and no comment. I don't know what that means, Michelle, but thank you very much. Listen, all the super chats that I get, they are going in a little pot, a virtual pot. In fact, you know what? They're going in that pot there. And it's all going towards my fund to fix the roof. So I've got a leaking roof here, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a leaking roof. I've got a pitched roof. I built this extension I started building it in 2020. Still not finished. And my initial plan with my extension was like that side there. You know, the white observatories. I mean, we live in the countryside. We get beautiful stars at night. I was going to put an observatory on there. Ran out of money. If anybody's ever built an extension, like the costs just absolutely like rocket. They do. And the price of wood, the price of lumber, glass, windows, doors, everything just went ridiculous. So that's what I was going to do. So I had a pitched roof and then it went flat and I was going to have an observatory on there. I ran out of money and I've got a flat roof on and I put a temporary roof on it. It started to leak and I need to take it off basically. I need to take the flat roof. I need to take the coating off the roof. I need to get on top. I need to build a pitch on the roof to maybe not equal the pitch that I've got at the moment, but maybe at least like 15% pitch, and then sort it out. But anyway, right, let me jump down and get some of that chat. Thank you, Michelle. £2 to go towards the roof fund. Thank you so much. Gaelic is saying Gaelic Christiana, Gaelic Anima Christiana is saying, yeah, we all need to buy a round of beers or model doesn't hold. Exactly. Thank you, Gaelic Christiana. Listen, we are in a situation now where we are giving the same rights, voting rights, I mean, to people that don't pay for the country, that do pay for the country. So now, you know, this look, the example I gave a while ago is if any of you guys have got cryptocurrency, and I don't advocate any digital currency or anything, but there's this app called Revolut. Now, the guy who owns Revolut, I was watching a video the other day, and he was paying, like one guy was paying 3 billion in tax. That's what his tax bill was. I might be getting these numbers slightly wrong, but for the purpose of the explanation, it doesn't really matter. Now he was paying a lot of money in tax, and he's just said, "Well, the government are taxing me more in the United Kingdom, so I'm going now. Thank you very much, but I'm going." Like people who are, and I'm not saying his vote should be more powerful than anybody else's that pays tax. What I'm saying is, if you don't pay tax to the country, why should you have a say in how it's run? Literally, why should you have a say in how the country's run if you don't pay tax? It's absurd. Blue Bubbles is saying, up the hill, you show... hang on, what are we talking about here? What's silverfish going here? What are we talking about, silverfish? Up the hill, silverfish. I don't know what this is on about. D-Marie Gen X is saying, yes, my 14-year-old twin girls collect Pandora bracelets. They're ridiculously expensive. Yeah, so we just talking about Pandora bracelets, but D-Marie Gen X, right, here's the thing, right? If those Pandora bracelets were... if you could get 5 for £1, they wouldn't want them, right? They wouldn't want them because they'd have no value. They'd say, oh, I'm not getting them, Mum. They're cheapo ones. They're knockoff ones. I want the real ones. So absolutely, if people don't contribute into a system, if you don't pay for something, you don't respect its value. And, when I work away, you meet people, right? You meet people, and whether it's in like a hotel in Dubai or, or a lounge in Abu Dhabi or some other random place, like expats, you're going to the airport, so you're going to the VIP lounge. You might be, you congregate in the same places. I met this guy, and I wouldn't say he's a friend. He's certainly an acquaintance. He's certainly somebody who I would do business with again. And, on a professional matter. So, and he was telling me about why he was charging $2,000 a day for his day rate. And I was saying, mate, that's expensive for a day rate. I mean, normally you want to throw other things in there and like just confuse your customer. And he was saying, yes, but Sean, if somebody doesn't pay for something, they won't value the service. And when he said it, I was set back. And then the more I think about it, the more he is absolutely right. If people don't pay for something, they don't value it, and they're so like, there isn't an example that this is not true. There is no example where that phrase is not true. If you don't pay for something, you don't value it. There is no example where that statement is not true. Christendom Defender is saying, I trust Peaky Blinders above the UK government. Yeah. Endeavour to Preserve is saying wood lice are terrestrial isopods in the suborder Onsecadia. I think I'm pronouncing that. Their name is derived from often to be found in old wood and from louse, the parasite is inside, although wood lice are not parasitic or insect. Okay, thank you for that, buddy. Thank you. I will definitely sleep better tonight. Elon Musk knows. What does Elon... Are we talking... Right, guys, are we talking about Elon Musk about... Does he buy Pandora bracelets? Or is he following me? What are we talking about? Right, listen, let me get back on track because we're going... Why kill the cow, though, if you live from public subsidies? No anticipation for the future. If the UK goes bankrupt, how are these people going to live? Boom, exactly. Universal basic income. That's how. That's why I think all this is happening. All this is happening. I think people are going to... I think the economy is being broken on purpose in the United Kingdom to bring us into, to break the economy, to bring us into crisis, to bring in universal basic income. And then all these people that are here for free, they just become spenders because they will love the free money. They will love the free lifestyle. My mother's love cost me nothing, worth more than gold. Ah, okay, right. Right, okay, so your mother's love does cost you something. It does, doesn't it? It costs you... Do you know what? I'm going to have to come back to that. Right, ladies and gentlemen, right, we are totally going off track here. Hang on. Did you see Ant Middleton's video talking about it's time to protect ourselves? I didn't, D-Marie Gen X. Look, if we're talking about self-protection and self-preservation, all right, put your money into your vehicle, all right? Put your money into your vehicle. And I'm not talking about using your vehicle as a weapon. I'm talking about using your vehicle as a bug out system. The best way to protect yourselves is to avoid conflict. All right. That's what I will always say on this channel. I'll always say this on. I will always say that on this channel. All right. We have a bug out car. We have a I have a car. Sarah's got a car, and we have a bug out car. So just and protect yourselves. Everybody's wanting like to buy all sorts of crazy stuff. All right. I've worked in the Middle East for a long time, right? In some of the most, in some of the most hostile areas in the entire world. I have absolute hostile. I've been there. We've been ambushed. There's been roadside bombs. And not once have I had to use that to get out of a situation. I've always used the car to get out of a situation. So, people want to do X, Y, and Z. Put your money get yourselves a good vehicle, all right? A vehicle where, think about what the purpose of that vehicle is. So, for example, our vehicle, it's small enough. People want to buy these big 4x4s with like all this stuff and kit, and that looks fine. It looks great. Honestly, it does. It looks awesome until you realize how much diesel that uses. And then you start to think, right, okay, in a total grid down situation, a World War III scenario, total collapse, you won't be able to get diesel. Diesel will be gone, ladies and gentlemen. The government runs on diesel. Literally, the government runs on diesel, okay? So, you won't be able to get diesel. So, and again, it's up to you. If you've got a good supply of diesel, fine. So we have a petrol vehicle. What is the purpose of that vehicle? Well, the purpose of that vehicle is to get you from point A to point B without stopping, right? You're not going to want to set off and have to stop somewhere. So I had an extended fuel tank put in our vehicle. We can, with a full tank, we can drive anywhere in the UK with 20% spare fuel. It's just small enough to fit me, Sarah, the kids in the back, and some bags, right? You don't want it bigger. You don't want to carry, you don't want to be carrying all this stuff. It's just going to slow you down. What stuff do you realistically need? Well, not much. Turns out you need a change of clothes, some water, some food, and that's you. Good. What if I don't drive? Get yourself a driving license real quick. Get yourself a driving license real quick. You think the UK's voting system is corrupt? Okay, so right, I've spoke about this before. No, so I think the way. Okay, right. Let me articulate this. Right, the way that people vote in the United Kingdom can be corrupted in the context that postal votes, like what? Like you're too poorly to get out of bed and go and choose the direction of your country, so you have to do it by post. Yeah, I don't see that how that's not being corrupted. You don't have to show ID when you go and vote. Again, I don't see how that's a thing either. I think you should be able to. I think the only way you can vote, and I do think vote, is physical. I think that's the only way you should be able to do it. Listen, when it was the Brexit vote, I flew back from Ukraine just to vote. So, yes, I do think those things are ridiculous. Now, do I think that when you cast your vote, that's corrupt? I don't. I've witnessed these quite a few times. And I've been on the monitoring teams when these things are happening. Once you cast your vote, there's too many eyes on those ballot boxes. There's too many people watching. You'll literally, as soon as those votes are cast, somebody's there in that booth watching. You'll have a local person from Labour, Conservatives, Reform, Green Party, and they're all watching because they're all watching each other. And if there's any skullduggery, they all report it. So you think the UK voting system is corrupt? That's my that is how the voting system works. Alos, what we're talking here, Alos, you can cut universal income more easily than wages, so you directly control consumption. Yeah, exactly. So we're talking about universal basic income. Guys, listen, we are totally off track here. We are going on a massive side quest, but that's okay. Once I've done this comment here, I'm going to jump back on to foreigners being paid to have children, women and girls at risk, and STARMER is absolutely plummeting in the polls. And then I'm going to give you guys a little update on Iran, because as we know, the US strike carrier group, headed by the USS Abraham Lincoln or whatever it is, they are now in the Middle East. So Gaelic Christiana is saying you can cut universal income more easily than wages. You absolutely can. And once you've got universal basic income in, and that is linked to some sort of digital ID, guess what? You don't just control the consumers, you control the retail as well. So for example, now, if you want to sell potatoes or, I don't know, chicken legs, whatever, you then have to conform, because look, right, so the way universal basic income, I think, will come down will be the way I think universal basic income will come in. They will say, right, you get, say, $1,000, $2,000, whatever, on your digital app. Right, so if you're in the United Kingdom or wherever, you will get, like, call it, just say it's $2,000 or whatever, I don't know. What they will say is you are only allowed to spend that within that month period, so you're not allowed to save it. And the first of each month, it will just get reset back to $2,000, right? That'll stop people saving money. You know, that'll stop people like stockpiling. You will only be able to spend that in government-approved shops. So now and if you want to receive universal basic income as payment, you then have to become a government-approved shop. And look, if everybody in the United Kingdom has this $2,000 in your retail outlet, you would be an absolute fool not to conform to whatever the government says you need to put in place to receive that universal basic income, right? So now you have this scenario where shops can only sell government-approved potatoes. You know, a shopkeeper that's not doing X, Y, and Z, or maybe a shopkeeper selling union flags. Maybe a shopkeeper's selling union flags or something, and the government don't like the shopkeeper selling union flags. No, we close that shop down. You're not allowed to sell that in the shop. You know, and people, this will absolutely, you can directly control this, you can literally directly control this from like a computer somewhere. Sean, is STARMER less popular than Maduro? Yes, yes, he is. As per charts and regulations, Keir Starmer is less popular than Nicholas. Was it Nicholas? Nicholas Maduro? I think his name is Nicholas. Catalytic Converter is saying, let's not forget schools are telling kids to write Valentine's. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Oh, I got some lime scale in the bottom of that. Right, listen, let's jump back on track, because I know we've gone totally off. We've gone on a massive cyclist. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share with you guys a video again from Tucker Carlson talking to Conor McGregor. Now, what he's saying is that the government in the United, well, I don't know what government he's talking about. He's talking about with Conor McGregor, who's Irish. So he's saying governments are paying foreigners to have children. Well, let's see what he's saying rather than me.
If they're paying foreigners to have kids, well, you can't afford to have kids. If they're shaking you down with the armed police, but allowing foreigners a pass, if they're paying to fix foreigners' cars, but not yours, they hate you and they're trying to kill you, right?
It's an erasure. It's an attempted erasure of our people.
Right, I'm going to leave it there because Conor McGregor, he goes on a waffle, and I don't know what he's talking about, so I'm just going to leave it there. All right, that's what Tucker Carlson's saying. Right, that's what Tucker Carlson's saying. If they are paying foreigners to have children, and you can't afford them because you're paying those taxes, if they are funding, you know, if they are funding people who literally hate you, then they hate you as well. That's what Tucker Carlson's saying, ladies and gentlemen. I wouldn't say anything. I would never say anything as controversial as that. Hang on, sorry. In Star Trek, particularly on Voyager replicator rations, were a policy to limit the use of replicators when the ship's energy supplies were low. Okay, are we going? I don't know where we're going here, guys. Let's right. Christian Defender is saying you are all paying for your own demise. We are, you know, ultimately, right? Okay, ultimately, if you don't agree with what the government are doing, and we have no way basically of opposing the government legally. There's no way of opposing a tyrannical government. And I don't want to go on this because I've done this. I really have, guys. I've done this to death. But ultimately, if go on to whatever AI you use and say, like, literally go on to whatever AI you use and say, what legal route do people in the United Kingdom have to oppose a tyrannical government? And it's ridiculous. You get to vote, you get to protest peacefully, and you get to lobby your local MP. Well, it turns out that's not very successful. Right, what else have we got? We've got GB News. We've got people are angry now. Governments, consecutive governments in the United Kingdom with the woke agenda are, you know, putting women and you know what, I'm not going to just say it's not just women and girls, is it? It's men as well. Everybody is becoming. We all have a bigger danger. I can't play that anymore. Right, I'm not going to play that because it won't let me play. Right, let me refresh this screen. Give me a second. Let me refresh the screen. Right, now I can play it. So yeah, you don't have to be a woman or a girl or a child to feel the tension when you walk down the high street. Everybody feels it. Let your eyes tell you the truth, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I mean, it's not, you don't have to be a woman or a girl to understand this, because men, you have wives, you have daughters, you have mothers, you have nieces, you know, the women in your lives you love and care about. Rhiannon was one of those women. So let me know what you're thinking about this story. I'm going to ask my panel now. This isn't going to be a debate. I know Michelle's show is all about debate and feisty argument, etc., which is brilliant. It just.
So what she's talking about here, guys, sorry, is you know the lady Rhiannon White, who was, I mean, if you read the headline there, Deng Majek, he was a migrant staying in the hotel that she worked at. He used a screwdriver for no apparent reason, and now she's dead. Her son, 5 years old, had Christmas without his mummy. And we're paying for that, ladies and gentlemen. We are paying for that. Taxpayers are paying for that. Do pattern recognition. Let your eyes tell you the truth.
Doesn't work for this subject, nor should it work for this subject, because you can't debate the senseless slaughter of a young woman whose 5-year-old child is now being cared for by her sister. Rhiannon took 3 days to die, by the way, and this little boy now wants to be a brain surgeon because he said that I don't want any other ladies to be hurt like my mummy was. I want to make them better. A 5-year-old who's lost his mum. Sebastian, I'm going to get very emotional about this because of course I'm upset. I feel terrible for Rhiannon's family, but I'm going to say I'm bloody angry. I'm really angry about what not just this government, but various governments are putting women and girls in this country through. Well,
so it's not. We've all become numb to this now, right? We've all become numb, right, to opening up the news, right, opening up the wherever you're scrolling and seeing a gang, a gang of men, and looking at their pictures. Oh, okay, we've got that gang. or a stabby or a rammy. We've all become numb to this now. We've all just become numb to it. And we've all just accepted this. And that's kind of like, the darkness, right? And like, when you're considering this, right? When you're considering what's happening, because it's happening slowly. Oh, it'll be okay. Oh, it'll be okay. Guys, it's not. It's not okay. The simmering point is over. We're now the pan is frothing. And there's going to be, it's going to go at some point. Now, I don't know when it's going to pop, but it will pop. And I've said this on previous live streams. This is my personal analysis now that civil war is, and it's not going to be civil war. I don't want to go down that road because I've done it to death. But I'm going to call it civil war because I can't think of a better word. But that is inevitable now. How can it not be inevitable? And people are putting their, like in any conflict, all right, like in any business deal, all right, you need to identify the enemy, you need to identify the product, you need to understand what we're talking about, right? And people are wasting their time, energy, money, resources, effort on things that don't matter. Literally, that's what people are doing right now. The best example of this is the Unite the Kingdom rally in London. How many people went down there? How many? I don't know. High-end estimates are 3 million. As a direct result of that, event, how many boats have been stopped coming to the United Kingdom? How many deportations have there been? How many people's lives have been saved? I would say very little. I would say it didn't change anything, You've got these guys going over to northern France to stop the boats. When they were out there, they were stopping the boats. There's no denying that, They were out there the whole month of November, as I understand, and there was no boats. And I said, I went out there myself, like early December. I think it was the 2nd. I don't know. I think it was the 2nd of December. I can't remember. And I said to you guys, I said, listen, they're going to get closed down. They're going to get arrested or banned from entering the country. That's what's going to happen. Because things are bigger. Like what we are seeing is bigger than people can imagine. It's not the case of incompetent governments. I feel this is something far more sinister, and I don't know where I can point the finger. I don't know where that finger's been pointed, but it's certainly not at Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer doesn't even qualify as a pawn. He qualifies as like somebody that would bring tea to the pawns once the pawns have been captured. Maybe that's where Keir Starmer is. He's like a pawn. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? He would be. Yeah, I'm not going to go in there. He's somebody that would take. I was going to say something else there. Keir Starmer doesn't even qualify as a pawn in this game. So who are the bishops? Who's the king and queen? Who are the real movers and shakers? And I would speculate we've never even heard of their names. Louise Gaffin is saying it's. Oh, hang on. Let me get your other comments. Louise Gaffin is saying, whilst I do agree, Sean, it does also show each other how many people feel that way. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. No, I agree. It did show people, I think. Yeah, you are right. It showed people that they are not alone, that there is strength in unity, but it didn't change anything. It absolutely didn't change anything. And Louise Gaffin is saying 100% it's not incompetence. It's not, people are saying that how can this government be so incompetent? Well, what if they're not really incompetent? What if this is their plan all along and it's going perfectly? Like a couple of months ago, Keir Starmer, he did like a speech and he said, right, time to move on to phase 2. And I was like, what? there was not many people caught what he said. So Keir Starmer, he's in like, it's not the Oval Office, is it? It's like, I don't know. He's in like a briefing room in Downing Street. And it's, it's one of those staged meetings where everybody knows what they've got to say. And he sat there, and this was last year sometime, I think the end of summer. And he said, right, so it's time to move on to phase 2. And I was like, what? So what you're saying is phase 1's been successful? Clearly, right? You don't move on to phase 2 unless phase 1's been successful. Tell me in any project, right? Any project, any operation, anything where you move on to phase 2, if you still haven't completed phase 1, you don't do that. And that really perked my spider senses up. I was like, right, well, how are they moving on to phase 2? They've destroyed the country, Rachel Reeves and her 22 billion black hole. Like 42, I think, is it 45? No, I think it's 45 actually. 45 millionaires left last year, 45.2 actually. 45.2 millionaires tapped out of the United Kingdom last year. Every day last year. Sorry, I rephrased that. Sorry. 45.2 millionaires left the United Kingdom every day last year. They said, oh, thank you very much, but I'm going to tap out. How much revenue do you think's been lost there? It's wrong. It's ridiculous, guys. Putting up taxes does not get you more money, because those people who are paying taxes say, oh, well, thank you very much, but I run a business, and you have to do that, right? If you run a business, right? If you run a business, you have to make as much money as possible, because you're right. Imagine you're employing staff, right? You're employing staff, you're paying the staff. When times are lean, you have to pay those staff out of your own pockets, right? So like if you've got a staff, if you've got 20 people working for you in the workshop, right? And there's not much work coming in, you can't let them go. You have to pay that. You have to pay those staff members out of your own pocket, right? And when you pay those staff members out of your own pocket, that comes out of your previous profits, right? So you're not being a douchebag. You're not being a douchebag by saying, right, I can't do this anymore. You're not. You have to do that. You absolutely have to do that. The example I gave is... Gone Commando is saying, at least the electric's still on. Yeah, for now. The example I give is the guy who owns, what's it called? The guy who owns, what's that app? I've said it like 4 times. Revolut. The guy who owns Revolut. He used to live in the United Kingdom. He's gone now. Let me Google this. Give me a second. Let me make sure I'm getting these numbers right. I was watching this on another video. Right, okay. Nick Stronsky, the billionaire founder and CEO of London-based fintech giant Revolut, has shifted his tax residency from the UK to Dubai. Yeah, right, okay, right. Right. So let me give you this, right? According to Companies House filings, October 2025, this moves following the tightening of UK taxes on non-domicile residents and comes ahead of a potential major share sale. Despite the personal move, Stronsky remains CEO, and Revolut recently announced $3 billion investment in UK. Right, okay, maybe I got that slightly wrong then. Tax implications. The move follows the abolition of non-dom tax regime in the UK, potentially saving the billionaire hundreds of millions, over $3 billion in capital gains tax. Right, okay. No, I was right. So the company is right. Okay, so the company is valued at over 45 billion. So this company, right, worth over 45 billion, they've just said, oh, you're changing the tax laws, are you? Yes. Oh, okay, we're going to move to Dubai where they don't tax us. Why wouldn't you do that? You have to do that. And it's all well and good, it's all well and good. Everybody saying, we're going to tax those billionaires. Rachel Reeves, we're going to tax them billionaires, we are. We're going to rate tax them billionaires, and we're going to give all that money to your poor people who don't work. Your poor people who don't work, you just have kids and eat sausages. Yeah, we're going to tax billionaires, and we're going to give you loads more money. That's what we're going to do. Yeah, I'll get these trousers on. Well, it turns out those billionaires that you were going to tax, they've gone. So you're not taxing them. Okay, so what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to tax them. Right. Yeah, all them billionaires have left now, but don't worry. There's plenty of millionaires in this country. We're going to tax them, and it's going to be proper good. We're going to get them millionaires, them dirty millionaires. We're going to tax them on the yachts. We're going to tax them. Oh, turns out last year 45.2 millionaires left the country every day. Right. Now there's none of them millionaires left because they've all run off because they're not willing to pay it. We're going to tax them people. We're going to tax people whose house is worth more than 500 grand. What? That's not a mansion. 2 million. Any house that's worth more than 2 million, we're going to rate tax them. Ultimately, all tax, the poor people pay. Literally, the poor people pay for the poor people will pay for these taxes, guys. Unbelievable. More than anyone else. More than anyone else. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cut this relatively... Well, it's not short, is it? I've been on over an hour. I'm going to close this down now. What I just wanted to throw out there is, and I know we've got a massive sidetrack. Look, we've gone on massive... We've gone on a massive side quest here, guys, okay? The video I just shared with you guys where Tucker Carlson is saying foreigners are being paid to have children, which I think that's a fact. I don't know when that video was from. Women, girls, and people in the United Kingdom, let your eyes tell you the truth, guys, okay? Let your eyes tell you the truth, because there's pattern recognitions that you guys can do, right? There's pattern recognitions what you guys can do. You can look at the type of people that are committing these crimes when they get convicted. You can look at them. That's all you need to do. Look at them, read their names, and can you put together any pattern recognition? I know that you guys can. I know you can. I do. I know you guys can do that. Starmer's rating has absolutely plummeted. As I understand now, he's the most unpopular prime minister that the United Kingdom have ever had. Go figure. And I've not really touched on Iran. What I'm going to do is I'll probably come back on later this afternoon and give you guys an Iran update. But apart from that, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. I'm closing this. Q knows your channel. Who's Q? QAnons. QAnon 07. What are we talking about? I don't know where we're going. I know you're not Q because I'm the one on the 6th that they don't call Q when I warned him of China and cheated on the election, started the civil war. Right, I don't know where we're going here, guys. I don't know where we're going. Right, listen, I am going to close this down now. You guys are fantastic. I will be back on later on this afternoon. I'm going to be talking about Iran. I need to change the headline here because it's a little. I didn't even touch Iran. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you good morning. I bid you good afternoon, whatever time of day it is you're watching, and I'll see you later on when I talk about Iran.